Welcome, Jeremy Bryoff with SignComp. SignComp's been a partner of ours for a number of years, and
Yeah, a little bit.
you guys make everything happen with sign cabinets, channel. I mean, everything you can imagine, you can start with SignComp. To me, it's almost like you're putting together pieces of a puzzle and making it all work. But it's easier than people think, and just happy to have you today with us. And thanks, Jeremy.
Got it. Thank you, Peggy. Thank you, Glance team, everyone on.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so Jeremy with SignComp here. You are going to hear some background noise for those of you who haven't hopped into one of these before. We are live in the back of SignComp's warehouse right now. This is our ISA booth that we typically have taken for the last 5 or 6 years. So we just set it up as a showroom, basically to do all these Zoom calls, do one-on-one trainings, have people come in-house and we can come back here and see some actual live cabinets. Rather than thumbing through the catalog or our website, where some people have a little bit of trouble of understanding what these profiles are, feel free to hop in here with us and we can just do this live. Or like I said, bring the whole crew in and we can have a full day, day and a half of training here. So we will do a final spin here just to get everybody's eyes on everything that we do. But SignComp, as you know, we are known for cutting kits. We can also supply full length material, so you can cut in house as well. So everything behind me is all a functioning cabinet. So whether it's going to hinge open, it's going to slide for service, anywhere from rigid faces, flex faces, posts and panels, we've got it all here for you in our booth, as well as our catalog and website. And I know Glance locations are currently stocking and cutting as well. So what we're really going to focus on today is not necessarily the sign cabinet side of things. It's just that with Glance beefing up their inventory in certain locations, we're going to start focusing on a little bit of flex face. Not the flex face material itself so much. Glance provides that. And Peggy, if you want to plug some of your lines, feel free to jump in real quick before I go down this rabbit hole.
Yeah, sure. We do provide some of the Panaflex from 3M. We have Arlon products as well for Flex. We have Cooley. So we've got some options that we carry in stock, which is always nice to have whenever you need it.
Correct, correct. So like I mentioned before, is we have cabinets that have rigid face substrates, where you slide for servicing, or you can even hinge them open depending on the size. But then the next step is going to be flex face material. Okay, so what that is that's just flimsy, lightweight material. Peggy already plugged the type of brands that they have. But with that, SignComp has the solutions on how to hold that face material. So kind of giving you the end result here, but it's going to end up drum tight. Okay. So SignComp has a wide range of options for you. So we do have cabinet solutions that we can hinge open to get in there for servicing. We have what's called retro frames. So retro in the sign world tends to lean a little bit more towards the LED side of things. But retro to SignComp means that if you have a sign cabinet that's in good shape, but you want to redo the faces, we have a solution where it's basically like the top of a shoebox fitting over the main box itself. So there's a lip all the way around the perimeter of our frames where you can simply take your existing cabinet, mount this on all four sides, anchor it into place, and then tension your face. Otherwise, we do have, once again, the cabinets that can inset on, single-sided, double-sided, and variable depth in between. So we call that a retro frame. Um, Otherwise, we have cabinets or framing solutions that are all in one as well. So we have this 6-inch deep profile that has the tensioning mechanism built into a 6-inch deep cabinet. And then the most recent frame that we introduced last year is a 7-inch all-in-one system. Okay, so if anybody wants more details on the specifics of those, just let me know in the chat box or shoot me an email, let Peggy know, and we can answer those one-on-one. So a lot of questions I get is typically, when do I look at flex face? When do I turn to that? And my simple answer is just based on size and your print capabilities. Okay, so when I say size, typically when you start getting around 5 by 10, you might want to start considering. I'm on this part of the business. This be used for outdoors as well. Yes, yes. We had a question. Can this be used exterior? That is a majority of the time that we see these is exterior. Interior, I'm not saying it's not popular, but we just find it more popular exterior with large pylon, wall signs, you name it. We just see that a lot more being used exterior. Good question. Okay, so back to what I was saying is that size is typically when people will switch over to use flex. Okay, so we can see these black clips all the way around the perimeter of that banner, but all the frames that you see sitting in front of me, they have teeth that are extruded into the frames and the bodies and and the other framework that we offer. And that all lines up together with our tensioning clips. You can't really see it just because it's a little darker here, but we have the main clip itself. You can see the little teeth that are extruded into it. And then we have the main bar itself. So one of the best tech tips I can give you is what you see in front of me is printing that clip line the same time you're printing your graphic. That's going to save a ton of time because as you can see, all these clips are about 5 to 6 inches on center all the way around the perimeter. It's no big deal if you don't have those clip lines printed on there because we have all of the schematics for you to measure that out. So before it's a lot of chalk line and measuring but just when you get that clip line, it's going to speed up the process. So long story short with that is just get that clip line printed. So as you can see, there's different loads. Where the clips can go into the frame. This option right here is we call a bleed. So you can see there's no retainer, no frame all the way around it. It's just aesthetics at that point because the frame we're going to tension here has a cover because you can see the clip load goes straight on. There's going to be a 2¼ inch retainer that goes all the way around the perimeter. Okay, so this is a little bit of a cooking show, but we have all the clips loaded already. We want to try to get as square as we possibly can. Some people at the top will put like a little center mark so they know where to start. But the benefit with it is these clips do slide within the channel. So if we're off just a little bit, we can pull it one direction or the other to get that nice and square. Okay, so a lot of questions I get to is where do you start? How do you even begin tensioning? I like to start at the top. Okay, because now we can use gravity. I know a lot of signs are going to be a little bit bigger than the 2x2 that's in front of me. So I like starting at the top because now gravity has taken over. You'll notice I didn't push these clips all the way down. They should not bottom out. I can tell you that much. But all we're going to do is we just want to get a couple of those teeth started, and that banner is not going to go anywhere. Okay. So if we start at the top, next I want to move. I'm going to move to the bottom. I want to get these clips just ever so started. Now we can see that if we had to shuffle it one way, we can slide it. If we had to go this way, we can. So we just want the banner nice and flat. Okay. Now I'm going to start on the sides and work my way down. And keep in mind too, if you start with a wrinkle, you might end with a wrinkle. So we want to try to get this as flat as possible before we start. So now we're only thumb tight right now with our clips. You can see there's a lot of sag left in the face. That's where everybody's favorite tensioning tool comes into play. Okay. There's a little zert at the end, and you can see these fancy wings. What that does is all of our frames are designed to take that zert, and this is going to give us the leverage to drive these clips deeper into the frame. Okay, so once again, I'm just going to start at the top. I like to use the example of if you change one of your tires, it's like a lug nut. You don't want to crank down that first one. You want to kind of go around a couple of times. So I'm just going to get a couple of clicks with this tensioning tool, pressing the clips further into the frame. You can see there's still some slack. We have a little bit of drag going this way. It's because we tension the top and the bottom. We still have to do the sides yet. So we're going to crank these down just a little bit further onto the sides. I mentioned the wings are pushing the clips further in. We still have a little bit of slack here, so I'm just going to get one last tension here. Now we're nice and drum tight. Okay. And as I mentioned before, you can see the clips and the access material. That's where we're going to add a 2¼ inch cover all the way around the perimeter to hide all that. Now, another question we always get is how often can we change these out and how can we change these out? On the inside of these clips, you can see there's a slight opening. Let me get my big finger out of the way. You can see there's a slight opening at the top of each of these clips. This is where it gets real technical. We take a straight slot screwdriver, and all we're going to do is twist those clips. Okay, we're going to twist, grab some excess material, and we'll be able to pull these out. Once again, if my fingers weren't so winter ready, pull this out quicker. All right, so you can see that we're going to be able to pull these clips out. Now, I always get a lot of questions too, as far as, how many uses can we get out of these clips? If you're the one tensioning this, which you did it appropriately, you'll probably get a good 3 to 4 uses out of these clips before it might be time to before it might be time to get a new bag of clips. We just move on with tensioning our faces. See that? Any questions at that point? That's really how simple it is. There are a little bit of tips and tricks when it comes to this. You can see in this corner, I notched that out just because I don't want too much material here to cause a wrinkle. So feel free to cut out some of that excess material as you move along. So any questions at this point? Perfect. We are
Looks
all
like
experts at
good.
this point. All experts at this point. So I'm going to back up a little bit and I'm going to show you how to load the clip. So I showed you originally there is the main clip itself as well as the bar. This is how it attaches to your material. So as I mentioned with this clip line all the way around the perimeter is we're going to find that clip line and we're going to pull that bar up onto our material, fold that over, and then the clip simply snaps right onto the material. So anybody out in the shop, this is your test. You want to make sure that that clip is moving along that bar. That's what's going to be able to have the face relax and shift where we need it to go as we're tensioning. And then if you have to move the clips or just remove them if they went bad, you just remove the clip from the mandrel side to side like that. Okay. Let me just snap this back on there. Okay, and then in the forefront too, that's where we encourage you to give Glance a call, give SignComp a call directly, because we just ask a certain amount of questions on which solution we're after. So I already showed you we do have the cabinets, we have the retro frame available. We also have other solutions depending on if they are illuminated or not. Okay, thought I had that frame here. All right, what I mean by that, if I had that in my hand, it was going to be we have a 1 inch deep option. So we ask you if is it going to be illuminated? What kind of depth are we after? Peggy, I'll let you answer that question. Yes, we will send the link. Okay, so we have a 1 inch deep option as well. You can see the teeth are extruded like I showed you originally, but now the clips come up and around. So this frame is only 1 inch in depth. So non-illuminated, nice, quick and easy, mounts directly to the structure you're after. Think of, movie theaters, when they're advertising for different movies and they want to just quick change out banner, we have that option for you as well. I wouldn't worry about it, Nick. My little wingman's over there digging around in the crates. So, um, moving along too is I just want to point out too is that what we're seeing a lot of for those advanced companies is kerf cutting. I know I showed you all these examples already, but kerf cutting is putting multiple notches in the extrusion to create a shape. Everything I've shown you throughout the booth so far has just been a rectangle or a square. But what we can do is we put multiple notches into it, and we're seeing it very commonly used with all of our flex frames. And so I'll bring you over here and just give you a finished example. Now, I know I said about 5x10 is where people will kind of switch over and start using flex. I'm seeing a lot more with channel letters as well. So if there's any channel letter builders on this Zoom call, some people about 8 foot or above, they will turn to us to kerf cut and supply them with all the components to do a flex face. So just a different type of banner material. But you'll notice that we put the appropriate cuts where it's necessary inside of that frame. We're not going to give you full sticks that are notched. We want to make sure that the kit is cut according to plan. If you have straight runs, we don't want notches in that because it could fall out of whack there too. So right behind me as well is our brand new 7 inch deep flex frame option. The benefit with that, it does not hinge open, so we don't have any kickers on the inside. Could possibly cause some shadows. But the reason for that body portion is that you can route out an access panel on the sides and service your power supply from the outside. Now, for those who aren't familiar with what I mean by a kicker or a frame support tube, this is another example of a flex. But now we're seeing the inner workings of our cabinet. So when we have a cabinet that's going to hinge open, we want to make sure that that face remains nice and square, nice and taut. And so what we'll do is we'll supply you with the frame braces and frame support tubes to add inside of that cabinet to keep it nice and square. Okay. So if there's any questions on that, we have plenty other info to share with you. So if there's any questions about Flex, we can circle back. We'll send the link. So one of the questions was if we can go back later and rewatch this video, we are going to be able to. Peggy's going to have the link that she can send later too.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Beautiful. And so some of the workings behind me as well is this router board. This is a fantastic tool. We can supply you with every single 3-inch piece that we offer here at SignComp. It's a great tool for your sales team, production, as well as design. But if it's a little bit too extravagant for some, all these 3-inch pieces are available to you if you want to get a little hands-on. You're more hands-on than, can I use acrylic for the face? Yes, we're going to circle back to that here in a second. But every 3-inch piece that you see behind me is tumbled, anodized, and it has the part number on it. Once again, I know the catalog can be a little bit tricky at looking at, so if you want to get hands-on, just let me know which profiles. We can drop that in the mail, get that right off to you, so you can have that um, sitting on your desk. Sitting on your desk. So, um, yeah. So one of the questions we just had on there is for acrylic faces. You're in luck. On the other side here, we do have rigid, rigid substrate. So that also hinges open for certain applications. Outside of the question that I had earlier, where when do you turn to flex is given the size, kind of the same thing with these. Even though this cabinet hinges open, we want to be smart in where we're using it, just because there is kind of a price structure. Is that if we're doing a pylon sign, that's where I would probably look to doing a hinge cabinet, because if we're up in the air and we have to service, I really don't want to try to slide this piece out in order to get inside of that cabinet. Maybe we should turn to the commercial line where we can actually hinge this open to get in there for servicing. I'll bring it back over here real quick, Nick, because outside of that is we have what we call our standard product line. What that is monument signs, wall cabinets, you name it. So this is more of a stationary system here. So we call it a one part, two part, because the one part meaning that the retainer is extruded into the bodies, and then two part means we have to have some way to service. So that's where we'll just remove a retainer and slide our faces in and out for servicing or for changing out. That answer your question that we had on there? And it's just different appearances. So obviously these are acrylic. We talked about flex. You can also take those same cabinets and just add a metal face to the outside to give it that nice clean appearance to it. And this still hinges open. We can make it just like I suggested earlier, the top of a shoebox to remove. And I messed with this one earlier, but this is actually one of my favorites. This is only about a 3-inch deep design, route out, push through, or you can make it a custom raceway. But that entire face is going to allow us to hinge that open to get in there for servicing. So with all of our cabinets, we supply you with the hardware to assemble the cabinets. We don't have any of the internal structure and what have you, but we do have some design concept drawings that we can send over to you to give you the idea on how to do the internal structure. And so the benefit with SignComp is that the corner angles you can see here, the angles are already pre-punched, because I don't even like to say fabricate anymore. I like to say just assemble, because if I say fabricate, it almost sounds like you have to have a welder on hand. But with all the advancements with some of the adhesives out there, we design these to where that's making room for the tip of your adhesive gun to go in there to glue these cabinets together. So inside of our cabinets, we have all these provisions, and these are not pigeonholing you on how to assemble the cabinets. So inserting the corner angle on either side, we have our side pieces that we're going to add. And then lastly, we're just going to reinsert the angles on the top and drop that into place. Okay. So this is just a single-sided 6-inch application, exactly like the stand-up I just showed you. What we're missing here is that retainer portion. So these are all designed for this to sit nice and flush for that clean appearance. So this is going to be our access for changing the face out if we ever have to, or servicing the power supplies or LEDs. Now, another good tech tip for these cabinets is once you get it loose fitting like this, is get a ratchet strap. Put a ratchet strap around here, crank it down, and what that's going to do is square everything up. Now only one person is assembling the cabinet, and then you can go through and inject your adhesive, weld, or screw the cabinet together, however you choose, however your shop chooses to put that together. Okay, so if you haven't guessed it, we're kind of like adult Legos. That's really all we are. So we can circle back if anybody has any questions, but I just want to slowly walk back through and show you the other side of the booth. But this little tensioning demo, obviously, it's just a 2x2. It's a smaller setup. It's a nice little cooking show. But we also have larger cabinets over here. You know, if anybody wanted to zoom in later on at a later date, we can actually dive a little bit deeper with larger cabinets and tensioning because I know that one looked nice and simple. But we can help out later on if anybody has any other questions or their next project that comes up. Something we haven't touched on is post and panel directional wayfinding. SignComp has a whole division all dedicated to just posts and panels. So this little setup here, obviously we have one thin panel. These little adapters can hold an eighth inch, quarter inch, or a half inch thick substrate. And any of the posts that have this reveal is going to accept all those adapters. So you simply just tell us how tall your panel is. We will cut these to size as well as the posts. And it's just basically like that game Connect 4. We're just going to drop these right into those slots. We put a cap on top, and it's not going to be able to. The panel's not included. That's going to be supplied by Glance. So when you put the end caps on, that is now going to lock that into place. And then if you want to step it up a little bit with something a little bit more fancy, we do have cabinets that can go in between the posts. So one of the more common ones is our 3¼ inch. We have round, square, radius, rectangular, soft edge posts as well. And it's a little bit more popular because of all those offerings. And it's the same reveal channel I just showed you with that adapter on the Series 2. But now what we'll do is we'll cut to size the cabinet, give you these little U tracks. Now that is what's going to be dropped inside of the post versus just your panel. Okay, so everything is just customized, whatever you need. End caps on. Now we have a nice cabinet in between the two posts here. And really, at that point, it's just aesthetics. You see how this has that nice little retainer all the way around? What that does is that allows us to remove the top and swap the faces in and out if we ever had to, because the next appearance is a bonded face to either side, so it's a nice clean application. Now these posts can be direct buried, so just please make sure you let us know how far into the ground we are going to go with those. Early on, I got burned by that a couple. So just let us know how far into the ground you would like to go. I know if you're up here in beautiful, beautiful Michigan, we have to get past the frost line. So that's about 36, 40, 42 inches into the ground. So just let us know on that. A little hidden gem that gets buried in the catalog for those of you whoever you deal with universities, hospitals. This is a fantastic source right here. These are interchangeable panels. Okay. You can see the dividers concealed behind each one of those panels. Now, this is the closest that SignComp will get to providing face material to you. We have a 4-inch, 6-inch, and 8-inch tall panel that all slide within this system. If you had a service, it is going to be backlit. The whole face hinges open. We just call this insert panel. But this entire system here, this demo that we're showing here, is that the customer wanted just a double-sided, hingeable cabinet with the insert panels. But once we got our hands on the drawings, we were able to let them know that we can curve cut a simple body. It's non-illuminated, so let's just bond a face to either side. You don't need retainers or any visible fasteners. And so it's just a good combination of showing you that we can combine our product lines. So those who are educated with SignComp, there's variable depths throughout that entire catalog. So we were able to combine two different product lines while accomplishing a curve cut. So we were able to provide the entire solution. So don't ever hesitate. Just send an email with your description or send over a drawing, which would be fantastic as well.
All right, thank
So
you.
really lastly, just a quick reminder again, we had the question about acrylic faces. We have different retainer sizes. This is just the hingeable cabinet out of commercial line. Same thing over here, exact same commercial line, hingeable open, but this is a banner face. And then we do have an economic version of the standard. So we all know we have a customer out there that likes to have us sharpen our pencils. We do have EconoComp as well. So that was kind of the whole gauntlet here. Peggy, I don't know if I was I don't even know what the time is. I don't know if I went too fast, too slow.
You're doing great. You're at 26 after, so you're doing really great.
Oh,
And thank you
not
so
too
much.
bad. Yeah,
Yeah,
not too bad. Awesome. So
you were really good. Thank you.
which is wild because I pounded a monster before I got on here, so I feel like I was
Oh,
fumbling
I
over my
knew it.
words. Um, but no, I'll just reiterate is that I know this was a quick 26-minute overview of SignComp. We have multiple solutions. Don't hesitate to reach out to Glance, reach out to SignComp, and we can find your solution. We are not going to cram SignComp down your throat, but we are going to find you the appropriate solution. And keep in mind too, there's a lot of questions I get after showing how simple it is to put a cabinet together our UL and paint. We don't paint. We offer a Duranotic bronze, which is a primer coat. Mill finish is the dominant offering that we have. And then UL, I get a lot of questions with that. Just, if you're not UL certified or whatever it may be, just don't put lights in. We have slim applications. We can get you all the way down to a snap frame. So like anybody who's been in a Buffalo Wild Wings, some people call them flip frames. We offer that wall frames all the way up to a 24-inch deep double side solution. So don't hesitate to reach out. We are here to help.
Thank you so, so much. Wow, we're getting some good comments too.
Yeah.
The product catalog.
Oh, hey, that's a good plug right there.
Yeah,
Mike, we are in the process of coming up with a new product guide, but feel free to hop onto the website. Thanks for the reminder too, Mike. Is that we revamped our website, and so on the main page there is a build your solution. It's not every single item out of the catalog. All it is going to ask a couple of questions. So it's our everyday items like our standard, the slide out for service, flex, and then post and panel. So you hop in there and you could just select flex, rigid, or post and panel, single sided, double sided, and then it's going to give you the depths. Okay. So instead of thumbing through that catalog, I know a lot of people tend to get a little frustrated through there. Don't give up. This one is going to give you the depths on there. And then once you find that solution, it's going to pop up an FAQ sheet. So you can look at that, run with that, put it to your design. Or there's a couple other steps where you just enter your info, the height and width, and click submit. Customer service is going to get that, and we will send you a hard copy quote. But sorry, I went down a rabbit hole there, is that the product guide is up to date on the website as well. Thank you for
awesome.
that. Thanks for the reminder, Mike.
Yeah.
Was there some other questions on there, Peggy?
No, there was just a comment that, they didn't know the full line of SignComp products. And this is exactly why we wanted to host this series is, Glance has our own, SignComp specialists and experts. And we also have Jeremy to help us as well. So we're glad to bring that partnership to the front and certainly educate people who didn't know. It's pretty neat when you look
Absolutely.
at the line. So thank you for going over all that you did and seeing the possibilities.
Hey, you bet. You bet. I know there's a lot, and I mentioned it before, but if there's ever a time that you wanted to hop in here, company to company and dive into tensioning, dive into post and panel, just let Peggy or I know, and we can set that up and really dial in with whatever project you have coming up. Oh,
Absolutely.
break time. But no,
Well, thank
Glance,
you.
Peggy, I really thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
This was great. A lot of good comments. Hopefully, I didn't talk too fast,
No,
but
I
I just
think
get
you were great.
I just get going at times. So, um,
From Chico. All right.
go. Okay. So,
Yeah. Much warmer place than us, I bet.
yeah, a little bit here in Michigan. So,
Yeah.
nope, happy to help wherever. Once again, Peggy and Glance, thank you very much for putting this on. I appreciate
Well,
it.
thank you so much for it. And guys, we'll send out the recording soon. Appreciate you very much for joining us and taking time out of your day. Have a
Absolutely.
great day. Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Bye.